Okay, so say you want to be a greaser and you don't like the old movies. That's completely understandable, man. I got some advice for you. Let's go over them. First, let me talk about why old movies kind of suck. There are only a few good old movies from the 50s that are still good. Rebel Without a Cause, movies like that. You know, the classics, the ones that are really highly rated, are still watchable. But that doesn't mean they're not cheesy. You know, they can be pretty corny at times, and I can understand why some people wouldn't want to put up with that. Especially the old horror movies. They're kind of laughable these days. But if you want to look for some modern alternatives, I got some for you. Westerns. Start off with Westerns. Westerns are indispensable for greasers. Those were the biggest movies in the 50s. Were the good old-fashioned Westerns. And if you want to look for some modern Westerns, I recommend movies like Django Unchained and 310 to Yuma, Open Range, movies like that. Very good for the greaser style and everything. If you know, Westerns. That's what the greaser would watch today if he was brought back from the dead. And racing movies, I don't mean like street racing movies. Greasers would probably laugh at street racing cars, being ultra American, that American greasers were in particular. And also, you know, like the British rockers were in their motorcycles, so I can't imagine any greaser group really taking street racing cars too well. But that doesn't mean that racing movies don't have the feel of what greasers were into. So yeah, racing movies, they're kind of dumb. I'm not really crazy about racing movies myself, but hey, greasers are pretty simple life, really, and you take what you can get. 3, horror movies. You might be laughing, horror movies? Yeah, they had a lot of B-movie horror movies back then, namely a character called Vampira, Plan 9 from Outer Space, which is probably the cheesiest movie ever made. Yeah, it was cheesy even back then. And horror movies at the drive-in, especially made by Italians and the French, and you know, people like that. A lot of the foreign films were playing at drive-ins back then, and you can watch, you know, like modern foreign horror movies and stuff like that. Still get a little bit of the greaser style. Yeah, that's those are 3 of my suggestions. Westerns. I said Westerns, racing movies, horror movies, science fiction movies. I imagine if Star Wars had been made in the 50s, everyone would have gone to see it then anyway. So yeah, you know, like, I'm not really a Star Wars guy, but if you are, then my hair's a mess because I just got a shower. But if you are, then all the power to you. And yeah, sci-fi. Add sci-fi to the list. Finally, number 5 is action movies. They really didn't have a lot of those back then because they didn't really have the action hero concept yet. But that doesn't mean you can't watch them. They're still pretty good. Yeah, some of them are. A lot of them are pretty bad, but watch the ones that are highly rated. The few that are, those are usually better. And I have a feeling that greasers would watch them if they were alive today. So yeah, that's my 5, really. Westerns, horror movies, racing movies, science fiction, action. Movies like that are just fun, I think. I'd stay away from dramas. I really can't imagine that greasers would watch dramas unless they were with their girlfriends and their girlfriends wanted to really see them that bad. Otherwise, yeah, I'd stay clear from those. Musicals as well. I mean, look what Grease did. Grease made greasers look like, you know, singers. So yeah, stay cool.